Okay, well, you guys ready? This is going to be hard hitting, this panel. It's going to be tough. We got two experts here. Darren and LB, come on up. I'm excited to have you. Darren out of New York City, runs a PR firm, amazing. Livia, she's in Hollywood, goes by LB, which I think is kind of cool. I get to call her that. Talent agent. If you want to be in, the movies someday, warm up to her, be really cool. If you're a dork, it's not going to happen. Have a seat. Okay, now, I'm really excited for this interview because on a personal note, I don't want to get emotional, Darren has made a huge impact in my life, personally. I'm looking for LB to make another impact. Just throw it out there, LB. Okay, now, as entrepreneurs, the title is Entrepreneurial Challenges. I want to submit that many of you don't know what your challenge is. And, you're successful people in this room. It's intimidating being around this room. And a lot of us, we kind of crafted our lane. We're good at what we do, we think. And then you go see a PR agent and go, hey, I want to go next level. They're like, you're not ready. Hey, I got a lot of talent. LB's like, no, you don't. There's always someone smarter, faster, better, quicker, better looking. We know it. So when you go have a heart-to-heart with someone in PR and talent, it can be humbling. And so today, when we talk about entrepreneurial challenges, I wanted to ask these guys some questions of sometimes what you need to hear, what they often say to a lot of clients, a lot of customers. They've already given me a few quotes that I thought were pretty cool, frames and whatever. And I don't want to take the steam out of that. But ladies first. What's it like when someone comes to you and they think they got all this talent and you're like, you got some things to work on. What's one of the first things you have to break the news to?
Well, the first thing is identity. A lot of people
identity.
Identity.
Okay.
Especially in the entertainment business, we call it show business. And if you don't know your show or you don't know your business, there's an element that's definitely missing. And so we get folks that will come in and then they want us to create that world for them. But to me, that world doesn't tie with your avatar. It doesn't tie with who you are. So now you're doing something that's not authentically you, right? And then from that, everything else is fake. So we get fake auditions, we get fake headshots, we get fake, because we can't identify you in any of the
people see through that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We are in 2024. We are in a world where people want to relate to other people. And if you can't relate to whatever it is that you're presenting, it's just a whole bunch of talk. So first thing for me is identity. Do you know who you are?
I remember when I interviewed with Darren, I didn't hire him. I had to interview with him. I had to court him with my marketing director for months. And we were like, come on, please take on Mark. He's like, he's a train wreck. And no, But I remember when in those interviews, you just wanted to make sure I was really who I was me. I mean, who I was. Tell me what you were looking for.
Yeah. So today, with all of the
a little closer.
Today, with all the noise, right? Your phone is basically an on-call messenger that you can't ignore every minute of the day. And so brands, individuals, personalities are constantly looking for a way to create attention. And few people can really realize that when you're in the picture, you don't actually see the frame. So most entrepreneurs fall in love either with their product or what they're doing or their business. But they fail to fall in love with the customer, and they also fail to do a great job of communicating just what makes them extraordinary. And the who cares, the so what, and the why you of any business or any persona really needs to be at the tip of your tongue. And it needs to be something that you not only share strategically, but you need to share it authentically. To your point, if it isn't real, everybody knows. But the last person sometimes to realize that is the founder or the entrepreneur.
And you got to teach them that. I remember Darren was teaching me this. Amanda, we'd get in front of the camera and she's like, no, say it again. And so when you start meeting that person, they go, okay, what's your mission? What's your purpose? And tell me in 2 sentences or whatever. How hard is that for people? How do you teach? How do you go through that?
Well, I typically I ask them who they are, like what are their favorite then I have to start developing questions like, what are your top 5 TV shows? What are your top 5 movies? Let's try to associate something, because you have to be able to see yourself in something, right? Most people, or especially in the entertainment aspect, there are 5 favorite. I heard movie quotes all day, but when you can relate to something there, then you can kind of see yourself. I typically ask them to go home and have their family and friends imitate them, because again, even when you were great, some part of you got lost in the shuffle, and then you forgot who you were. So we go back to recognizing who you are, and when your friends imitate you, don't get upset, but laugh at it, so you can start building your character, and you can actually start seeing how you show up to certain things. And if you don't see how you show up, it's really hard to imitate some of those things that make you who you are.
Wow. Do you ever run into some egos, Darren?
Every day. Every day.
What do you do with the people that have the ego? Do they don't progress? Or what do you do? Can you overcome it? What do you?
I think all people have a capacity to overcome ego, but the first step is to create awareness, right? And the more mission driven somebody is, so an example, like my wife and I worked together, she was instrumental in launching a global, national and global brand, the South Beach Diet. When she met the creator of the South Beach Diet and asked him what the South Beach Diet was, they could have sat down for about 3 hours. But what broke the South Beach Diet as a nationally recognized brand was saying it's something that was simple, it was easy, and it worked. You would think it needs the whole story, and most entrepreneurs get caught up in wanting to tell everybody about everything they do in a very short window of time. That's not going to work. So you have to have a level of authenticity that you bring your passion and charisma to, but you also have to have the willingness to be courageous to put it on a bumper sticker.
A niche.
And I've heard that, like, if I walked up to any of you and said, in 2 sentences, tell me what you do. What's your pitch? Like, what's your brand? What are you about? It can be hard. What's another challenge that you constantly see? People come, they're not authentic. They can't describe what they do. What's next?
Well, the next thing is being open for constructive criticism, being open for change, being open for help. You want the help, but then you don't like the help that's provided. So that's the catch-22, right? I look at self-tapes for my clients when they submit to projects. And, LB, and I'll say this across the world, I will not submit your product if it does not pass the test for me. Or we have to have options. And if you're not willing to understand that, or you're just like, hey, this is all I'm going to give you, this is all that I'll give you, and this is all that I'll present to you, then that lets me know the level of success that you're looking for. Because it's not as, here it is, this is all you'll get. It is, you know what, I'm open to be better. I'm open to go to another level, especially if you're asking experts' opinions.
Any thoughts on that, Darren, too?
Yeah, I think I experience every company, large, small, card table, big enterprise, is a media company. You don't have a choice. And unless you are willing to realize that, your competition will. So the more intentional you can become, and the more authentic you can, and the more clearly you own the needs of your customer and convey the relationship you have with that customer and your passion for serving them. So like, I know you and your work, and what really ignited our interest in collaborating with you and working with you is that level of real desire to impact change. And if you really look at the most meaningful businesses out there, some of them get a little bit diverted as they get big, but usually there's a phase, or at least a big part of what they do, that's driven by, I heard it earlier, something that has nothing to do with the money, that has everything to do with the impact and the opportunity that's there, or the realization of what is coming. Like, everyone here has been talking about different aspects of future pacing and what AI will enable. But underlying every one of those conversations for the businesses that break through is something that actually is shifting people's lives.
That's the why.
Agreed.
And that was said
What's your
earlier
why?
today.
What's your why? I like it.
In fact, many people say that you would start with why, but my perception of it is you start with who, and then for that who, why.
Everybody in this room, like, this is so challenging. I've been writing down in my journal today several mission, purpose, values. Do I know those like that? Do we know them well enough? Okay, I got another hard one.
Do you believe in them?
Oh, do you believe them? Yeah. No, I just want to make money. Okay, now I'm just joking. So, okay, another hard question. As people come to you and they want to level up themselves, their brand, whatever, I have another question there too buried in there. But what are things you can teach and some things you just can't? And I don't know. You want to go for you got one? It sounds like you got something right away.
So you can teach messaging, but you can't teach charisma. There certain people you meet. I would challenge everybody to think about when you meet someone who's a world-class presenter speaker. It's beyond the topic. Some people do a phenomenal job, whether it's in acting or presenting or fronting a brand. They do a phenomenal job of sharing the concepts. But very few people crush it with the charisma, right? Like, I don't know that you can create an actor or a performer. And when you combine that authentic message with an authentic mission and it's led with charisma, it's almost the secret formula to unstoppable success.
No, you got to. You're like what?
like
You don't think you can teach charisma? Or you agree or some other things?
Great points. Absolutely great points. I think I'm gonna reverse that. I can't teach you how to practice. That's something you have to want to do on your own. I can't teach you to want something. I can't want it more than you. That's something you have to want to bring to the table. So in that, it goes into all these things because practice, mentorship, looking for resources to make you better so you can get to the level that you want, that's something I can't teach you. I can tell you all about it. What is that saying? You can lead them to... But you can't
drink.
Exactly. So, and so when we're thinking about that, the values then now go back to you and the reflection of what is it that you truly want. How do you want to move forward? And if you can answer that and stand behind that through the storm, right? Because initially we were going to talk about these challenges. That storm is where your journey and your test meet. So I can't teach that.
Love it.
You have to be willing to go through it yourself.
Let's talk about separating the person from the brand. Sometimes the person is the brand, I guess. That's just maybe, a singer like Dre or something. But then there's also a point where you want the brand to kind of evolve and let the person do. How do you separate? What's example or any?
So the first thing that I think about when I think about brands, spend a lot of time looking at people who want to create a brand. And I encourage them to think about the fact that you don't create a brand. You earn a brand. Repeatedly delivering in a favorable way to your customer. So when you ask about separating a person from a brand, if a business is led by a person that is direct, like in your case, your business is very much about you and the way you approach things, but the services you provide have nothing to do with you. Yeah. They're really, so separating the brand from the person that is the face of the brand is a lot about communicating what it is that you're offering. But some brands, to be honest with you, are better off with the leader being the face of the brand forever. You know, what the person representing the brand, if they have the right formula of charisma, drive, and mission, right, and it's authentic, then there's great value in having them be very aligned.
As it relates to who the clients that I work with, I agree with as well. But in the acting or entertainment or production, if you will, you are that very thing. And so characteristics come into play. So if you are not those things, the relationships, we talked about personal relationships today as well. I heard that earlier. If you are not that, it's going to be really hard to continue with that because now it's working in your circle or the folks that want to work with you in your circle, if you will, right? So that's kind of where I go with that.
Dustin, where are we at on time too? Oh, where are we at? I didn't look up my cards. 5 more minutes. Okay.
Thank you, Ninja.
Yeah, thank you. This is phenomenal. Okay, let's give some tips here now. So I would argue at least half the room are people that have a name, a brand, a product. They want to continue to make it hold market saturation or grow or market share, and they want to build it. One of the first couple things you lead with that they need to be looking at and make sure they've got dialed in before those, you know what I'm saying? Like the first couple of things they got to start with if they really want to nail their brand and their image and go next level. And
well, one of my favorite quotes is "Do you, be you, and shine." Right? So
say it slower again.
Do you, be you, and shine. That's one of my favorite. That's something I say all the time. The do is doing. The be is being. Right? You have to be able to do something. You have to be able to move. You have to be in your moment. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people do stuff, but they're not the being part. They're not showing up to the do, right? And then you shine. So when I look at someone, it's what is it that you want to do? How are you looking at doing that? Have you put thought into that? Why do you want to do it, right? There's so many different levels. And I love what you've been saying. If you can't tell me that in 2 minutes, then I think you need to go rethink it, right? And it's okay to want to do something, but really, did you do the research? Are you willing to weather the storm? Are you willing to go through the process? Things are, especially in Hollywood, they're definitely not overnight. Those are great fairy tales. They may happen to certain people, but 9 times out of 10, it may not. And then again, more importantly, are you willing to weather the storm? Are you willing to walk through whatever fire that is, whatever hop that is, because it's a passion piece of yours? I meet a lot of actors that do it to change the world, to be able to create. Those are the beautiful ones. Why? Because they're not looking at it for money. If you build something, right, or if you create something, you will get what you're looking for in the end, but are you willing to do that work first? And so that's kind of what I have.
I think Jeff said that earlier today. Build great business, money will follow.
Absolutely,
right?
yes, I love that.
Build that. Mm-hmm. Right. So what you're saying is get your crap together. I hear you. Ayahuasca. Okay, what were you going to say?
Ayahuasca, like that. So I can't take credit for this concept or this phrase, but I recently worked with someone who had a great line, which is the greatest business leaders exploit their greatest gifts in the service of others. Right? When you
repeat that really close.
Well said.
The greatest businesses and business leaders are exploiting their greatest gifts in service of others. Right? They're tapping into something, and everybody, I would say, if you look across the room, Dustin did a phenomenal job of assembling not just an extraordinary group of people, but in many different areas, right? And so you get an opportunity, I think, in just sitting in the room to see what it's like to have people who are connected to. And I think, sadly, because of where we live in the world, most people are chasing money. It's become too easy. Everybody knows about the billionaires who started a YouTube channel and seems like they didn't work that hard because they put it out in social media that way. But I think someone said it earlier, that's not true either, right? Just the more you stay moved by your greatest awareness, your understanding, and then exploit that in service of the customer or the other, the more successful come.
So, LB, final tip. Final tip for someone that wants to be famous, their business to be famous. They're like, they just want it. You see them, but then you're like, you don't got it, or you do, you don't. Any tips here?
Well, okay. So first, let's define what famous is, because famous to multiple people are different things, right?
Say that one more time.
I said, let's define what famous is, because famous to multiple people are different things.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're doing it for the fame, that's the money. You're gonna get disappointed really quick. It needs to be something else. And like,
I was hoping you were going to say that.
Thank you,
because
Darren.
it's hollow, it's shallow. It's
empty. It's an
Yes.
empty shell. And like Darren has said, there has to be a purpose. We've said that all day. Relationships, communication, for the service of others, because that's when you shine, right? Because you're not doing it for self. You're doing it for the service of others. I love that quote.
So when you run a successful talent agency, like this person's got talent, I'm going to put them there. You want them to show up and everybody go, that person had it. They were authentic. They knew why they were there. Thank you.
And I want to be part of that in the growth. So now I'm providing a service for you. So now it becomes an interchange. It's no longer just about me. It's about you and everything that I have or resources I have now represent what you're doing because I understand where you're coming from, right? So it becomes a working relationship.
Darren, next level success tip.
I think that authenticity is very related to a certain access to your own humility. Some people think you have to be perfect to be relatable, that you rehearse so that you get it right. But when you see a few hiccups, those people are the most likable. Those are the people that get the most connection. And without connection, with all the noise in the world today, I mean, we heard earlier that it's very easy to replicate you now, right? But I don't think there's any AI that's going to replicate the authenticity or the way when
Humanity.
you're truly in service of exploiting that gift you have, whether you're a musician, you're an artist, or otherwise, you will know that, and AI can't replicate that.
Can I say a funny joke? Well, it's not even a joke. True story, though. I've had more success with talent failing at their auditions, not being perfect. That means they had some lines, some sides they had to read, and they totally ruined it. You know, they messed up on the words.
They thought they screwed up the audition.
They thought they screwed up, and those are the ones that get booked. Those are the ones that get called back because they're no longer robots. They actually got to show up and be human.
Wow.
And so those are success stories. So fail forward.
Awesome advice. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.